going to go back to long ago before we ever incarnated into Earth. Back when we were all beings of light up in the great celestial heavens. And back then, a call went out, much like the call that's been going out right now, activating the 1111. But this call that went out long, long, long ago was a call for volunteers in co-creation on the newly formed planet Earth. Maybe some of you remember that call. At that time, each of us who's here right now, we heard that call, and we're the ones that responded. We're the ones who chose ourselves to come serve on planet Earth. We were these beautiful, magnificent beings of light. And when we heard that call, we all came and joined together in these starry councils. There were these vast circular starry councils. Maybe you remember now. Seats went up like an amphitheater, in tiers, all the way around in a big circle. And one thing I would like to say is that each of us, this planet Earth down here, was not colonized by the misfits and the criminals of the universe. This planet, the first inhabitants that came down to this planet, we were the finest from all the dimensional universes. Believe it or not, we are the kings and the queens and the royal families of numerous star systems and galaxies. Each one sent a representative of that royal family down to Earth. That's who we are, all of us. That's who we've been all along, except we just forgot for a long time. We were the finest from everywhere. And we gathered together in these vast circular starry councils. And that was the place where we were prepared to come down to Earth. So beings appeared before us. And they said, well, just like Toby gave us the orientation for this week. Well, it happened in the Starry Councils much like that. And we had our tour guide for our descent into matter, said, well, there's a few things we want you to know. There's a schedule, but it's subject to change every day. And they said, the first thing that we need you to know is that it's not necessary for your entire vast being of light to come down to this little tiny planet Earth. If just one of us tried to come down, we'd crush it to bits. Much less all of us, the multitudes, the legions of us. So they said, all you have to do is to send a tiny fragment of your being, like a little starseed of your being, down to Earth. A little holographic projection of yourself. And that's the part of you that's going to have all those lifetimes. It's going to have that whole cycle of embodiments. And we said, oh, that will be fun. They said, most of you is going to stay in the starry councils in your vast body of light. It's like sending down a fingernail down to Earth. And we said, okay, that sounds good. And they said, well, there's something else you got to see here about your trip to Earth. That little fragment of you that's coming down is going to forget who it is. And what's more, that fragment of your being that's coming to the planet is going to forget that you exist, the vaster part of you. And when they told us that part, I have to admit that we didn't quite believe them. That's when we started looking at each other and going, are you going to forget who you are? Of course not. How could we ever forget? Do you remember that part? How could a finger of mine forget about the whole body? That's really ridiculous. I know I won't forget. But of course we all did. And then they said, oh, and on your journey to Earth, you're going to be surrounded all the time with your starry brethren. And we said, great. We're all going to be together down there. They said, but you're going to not recognize each other. Remember that one? Remember coming down here and looking into each one and thinking we were all separate from each other? Thinking we were alone, abandoned down on earth, and all the time, everyone, all around us, was all our beloved starry family. It's just we forgot. But now, the time of all the illusion, the time of all forgetting is past. And now when we look around, we see once again our beloved starry family.